I'm sure there will be days or a day or two that we may come inside with the Ford Center. So I mean
we're watching live the Dallas Cowboys press conference.
But my goal would to be on the grass as much as we can to start camp.
Mike, what conversations have you had either between the coaching staff and the players or between you and the organization itself about the racial equality protests that have happened in the other three leagues over the last couple of months and what the Cowboys organization might plan to do once games start?
Well, I think those conversations, as far as social injustice, whether it's the national anthem, whether it's COVID-19, these are, everyday type focuses for us. I think we all are touched by everything that's going on personally. I know for me personally, it's made me take a hard look at the blind spots that I may have in my life and from my experiences. And the one thing I do know, and something that will be continued to echo to everybody involved in football operation is take a step back and listen. I think we all need to listen more. How can we really be part of the progress? I think, the organization's statement of protest to progress, it was right on the money. So that's really where our focus will be, and we'll definitely support our players every way we can.
Some players have indicated that they may kneel. I know Dr. Poe said that somebody's considering. Jerry Jones has had an edict of players not kneeling. Have y'all softened that stance? Have players indicated they may kneel, and are you guys okay with that?
Well, I think just like I just stated in the answer before, these are conversations that we'll continue to have. It is August 7th, and in fairness to us, this is the first time we've been in the building together. But all those things will be talked about, and from my particular stance, it's a time to step back and listen and make sure we're in the right place, and we definitely will support our players.
Mike, being new to the organization and having lost the entire offseason and now the preseason games, how do you make sure that you get the evaluation opportunities that you want to put the best roster together at the start of the season?
I think this is really a time to really trust your experiences, trust your instincts. Obviously aware of all the unique challenges this year brings to us, but the reality is the other 31 teams are going through the exact same situation. So you want to create the most competitive environment you possibly can, whether it's in the classroom. So you can see that just the way the meetings are designed. We're in the strength and conditioning phase with the veterans. The rookies are in phase 2 right now on the field. And then, really Saturday will be our first practice in shells. Next Friday will be our first practice in shells, and then we'll take that to a different level as far as the competition. But you're looking at everything. We're obviously at an 8-man roster point right now, and we're going to do the best we can to make sure we pick the right guys.
Have you, going off of that, a big speculation point on the outside at least has been about, how rookies, adapt in such a strange offseason. What's kind of your read on where they are and your expectations for how quickly they can get acclimated?
I'll say this, having the opportunity to stand in front of, my 14th rookie class, this is an impressive one. They have really, grabbed a hold of this opportunity. You can see it in the classroom segments. There's confidence throughout the group. I really like the way they bonded together when they were here. Pretty much the first week by themselves, and then we integrated the injured vendor group in there after the second day. But it's the biggest challenge is to make sure these guys get as much opportunity, and because we obviously know just the way this thing is set up, it's not a normal year. But it's a good class that has a lot of promise.
Mike, we talked to Amari earlier in the week. He was talking about how the expectation is 3 1,000-yard receivers. You've had some really good trios, obviously, in Green Bay. But I'm wondering, is that possible when you have a runner like Zeke that you can have those kind of numbers in the passing game when you still have a runner like Zeke?
Well, I think the most important thing is I love the way he thinks, and I think you want Zeke to feel the same way, because at the end of the day, it's about ball distribution. I mean, that's always an emphasis. the ability to get the football spread around, because we're going to need all of our perimeter players when it comes to touches. So that's really where my focus is. Really, the way the games, play out, and the performance and the execution of the players usually takes care of that. So, but yes, Zeke is a primary target, for us as far as him touching the football. So that that will not change.
Mike, have you guys talked much about sort of play calling contingencies with the staff? If a coaching staff member were to get infected and you had to kind of adjust with who's calling plays or any kind of duty, have those conversations been had, and what have they been like?
Well, yes. I mean, we've had those conversations. I think you have to, look at everything with COVID-19 is with your eyes wide open. So, yes, there's a plan for pretty much, I think everything. So, but it's definitely something that we've been aware of now for a couple months, and we'll be ready if we get in that situation.
Football
Mike, after not having the opportunity to be around your players for so many months, is there anything outside of football that you've done in specific to make sure that you have the opportunity to get to know them more in advance? Anything
outside of football? Well, really just since being back in Dallas, it's been pretty much, all football. I mean, we're in that training camp mode. There are segments of time and really the opportunity based on the facility that would probably, we're going to entertain trying to do some non-football activities, group dynamic activities. So that's something that we're looking into. But really this particular time, because of all the time that we've lost, it's been all about football.
With the NFL season beginning after Major League Baseball, there's an opportunity to learn from what's happening with that sports league. When you see Major League Baseball clubhouses, really, some of them have, had sweeping number of cases with COVID. Is that avoiding something like that? Obviously, is a paramount importance. How do you avoid that specifically with your quarterback room? Do you take any specific measures to ensure that you keep Dak and Andy apart from each other anymore, or how do you navigate avoiding that sort of an issue in your quarterback room?
We've had that conversation, but I think you also you can look at it too from a pre-training camp phase. Then how you're going to handle the training camp phase, and then once you obviously get into the regular season. So we're talking through those things. Most important thing for all of us in the quarterback room is every classroom we have has the proper social distancing and obviously the emphasis of wearing a mask and all the other protocol points of emphasis is really what we're doing right now.
Mike, you've got a couple guys on PUP right now, Tyrone and Dontari. What's kind of the timetable with those guys with practice set in about a week or so?
I can't really give you one, really, till we get on to next week. They're making progress. I know the training staff feels very good about, the progress that they're making, but I definitely don't have a timetable for you right now.
Do you have any timetable or indication from the league of when you may hear something on Randy Gregory?
I have not heard anything on that. Sorry.
How would you characterize where you stand at fullback and following the decision by Jameis Alawala to opt out?
I'm sorry, I didn't hear the first part of your question.
How do you evaluate where you stand presently at fullback following the opt-out decision of Jameis Alawala?
Well, I mean, I think it's like any year, frankly. I mean, the fullback position and tight end position is something that I've always kind of lumped together when you're building your schematic menu. So, because that's the adjustment you have to make in game week. So that's no different than our thinking right now as far as we're in the training camp. So the ability to play multiple positions, both at the fullback and tight end position, will give us what we need schematically.
It's kind of like
Thank you, guys.
Mike, have any of your coaches,
last question.
did they have the chance to opt out if they had wanted to during this process?
I'm sorry, can you?
Is everybody there? Or what are some teams having their coaches wear shields in meetings? They want to see facial expressions and things. Are you doing anything out with your coaches? And just curious about if they had the opportunity to opt out, or if anybody had.
Well, we we talk every day. I think everybody has gone in this with a full commitment and clearly understands the challenges. As far as, shields versus mask, that's a personal preference. We're fortunate that we have all those resources here. Thank you. Have a great day.
All right, so you've just been listening live to Dallas Cowboys press conference, which is this is crazy to me because we have Mike McCarthy, and that's it. There's no Stephen Jones. Jerry Jones' yacht has been spotted in Seattle Harbor right now. We had heard that he was going on a trip to Alaska, so we don't know if it's on its way back from Alaska, or if he's still headed for his tour of Seattle. And this may be the way the Dallas Cowboys do business, that now they've got a man who you look at and say, okay, this guy has football experience. He can run an organization. As much as, we all like Jason Garrett, I don't mean to keep piling on, but we assume that Jason Garrett had all of the tools and the knowledge to be running a team. But, you look at the resume for Mike McCarthy. Before he ever became a head coach, he was offensive coordinator. He had literally worked through just about every position coaching on from every position on the offense before he became an offensive coordinator, before he became a coach. We look at Jason Garrett, and unfortunately his experience was quarterback coach under Nick Saban for 1 year, and then he's offensive coordinator and now head coach. So you have to wonder if Jason Garrett had all of the tools necessary to be that head coach, because a head coach is more like a CEO. You need to kind of know all phases of everything that's going on to be able to come up and develop an idea and a concept and be able to get it to your subordinates what you're trying to do. And it may be that Jerry Jones and staff were part of that, helping Jason Garrett on the sidelines. Now you have a Mike McCarthy who's put together a staff and has experience from multiple, teams doing successful, including beating the Cowboys on a regular basis when it counted, that now they're comfortable saying Mike McCarthy has got this. And maybe that's why we're seeing Jerry Jones out on his yacht, allowing Stephen Jones, Will McClay, and Mike McCarthy to run the Dallas Cowboys. So, listening to the press conference, a couple of notes that I took, that one of the things he said was take a step back, and they're trying to reevaluate and support the players, which is key. That, some players, hey, I'm a young guy, it's just me. Other players, maybe family, living with their family, having kids and things like that. And so each situation is going to be a little bit different dealing with this. And we're going to have tragedies, like Dak Prescott losing his brother. We're going to have people who have family members that may end up being sick and dying from COVID. And shout out to the person who was in the chat there earlier who has a beef with me because he says I talk about coronavirus too much. But my take on that is it's front and center, and if we all were to do the right thing, it wouldn't be front and center and we wouldn't need to talk about it. But until we get there, we do need to talk about it. We can't ignore it. Vets are on the field, and come next Friday, he said shields. Shields meaning pads. So come next Friday, 1 week from today, they will be practicing in pads on the field. I can't wait on there. As far as Dontari Poe, as well as Tyrone Crawford, when they're going to be off the PUP list, he didn't have an answer for that. As far as Randy Gregory goes, again, no answer for that. One final note I had was, when he was asked about the fullback position, if they would be looking to sign another fullback, to replace Jamez Alawali. And I know I messed up the name. Just forgive me, okay? He's no longer on he's out for the season, so forgive me for being a name butcher. But his thinking on this, and as we know about fullbacks not being that position that it once was, like when you had a Moose Johnson leading for Emmitt Smith, Alualu only played about 10% of the snaps. And Mike McCarthy's theory on this is tight ends and fullbacks are interchangeable. And I dare say that's kind of like what the the Washington football franchise used to have with an H-back. They ended up going with the one-back set originally with John Riggins, and they basically took that fullback and they made him an H-back, which was kind of like a hybrid between a fullback and a tight end. Mike McCarthy's taking it one step further, that you're going to have players that do multiple duties. If we do need a fullback, it's a short yardage situation, the tight end guy may be that fullback as well as being a tight end. So you're seeing a difference of philosophy here with Mike McCarthy versus Jason Garrett. So that's what we've got right now. Again, Jerry Jones's yacht is in Seattle right now. We don't know if that's headed to Alaska or coming back from Alaska, but it was definitely different seeing Mike McCarthy and only Mike McCarthy on a press conference. And I tell you what, it was actually good too, was not seeing the Jason Garrett grin. He looks like he is all business. Now, we'll be talking about this some more tonight, and we may have a few more wrinkles for you here during our live stream. I've got some new stuff, some new toys that we're going to be adding to our live stream. I'm Mark Holmes, and you're up to date with the Dallas Cowboys. I'll see you soon.